spirit is rising, she's rising, she's rising. The spirit is rising, it's rising, it's rising. The spirit is rising, they're rising, they're rising. The spirit is rising, they're rising.
Hi, Coven.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Risa.
Happy weekend of Imbolc. Happy Black
Yes.
History Month.
Yes. I think
Yeah.
our panel will have come out by the time y'all hear this. Obviously, we record in advance of the day that episodes come out. So you will have already heard that panel of amazing, inspiring creators of the future of Black history. So I hope that you got down with that. I, of course, am super into Imbolc because Imbolc for me is like it's the real New Year, if that makes sense.
Mm,
The example that I often use is like at Imbolc, I know if I have enough firewood to get to the end of winter.
right.
At the beginning of winter, it's like a speculative. Will we have enough wood? Will we have enough wood? Will we have enough wood? And now I know. But it's also that, like, in the metaphorical sense, like, this is the moment, not January 1st for me. And we've talked about this and talked like January is a wash for me. Like,
Yeah.
I just like need to like sleep and sleep some more. And so then for me, and especially like the Groundhog Day aspect of it is such an amazing metaphor because you stick your head out of your hole and there's like an option, right? Like either you see your shadow or you don't. And both of those things are okay. If you're
Yeah.
like 6 more weeks of winter and you crawl back into bed, it's okay. Like make an assessment and then do what you need to do.
For real.
Or, you know, or spring is coming. Let's hit the road running. Like let's. And also I love the term spring into action. Like you can either go back to hibernate or you can spring into action. And it all depends on your like internal groundhog, shall we say. So I love Groundhog Day for that. And also like the movie Groundhog Day that Harold Ramis made with Bill Murray, it's like if you don't make those assessments, then you're sort of doomed to relive the same day over and over and over again. If you
Mm,
can't look back at your past and like recognize the mistakes that you made and the victories too, like what you did right, what you did wrong, then you're just going to live the same day over and over and over again. So I'm a huge Imbolc fan. It's one of my favorite Sabbats because it is like the promise of a new day. But also, if you're not quite ready for that new day, it's cool. Like you can sleep for 6 more weeks.
yeah, I'm calling it. I'm not ready. I'm sleeping for 6 more weeks. Or sleeping, I don't know. But I was thinking if I had a prescription this week, but I didn't really listen to music this week. I didn't. The one thing I did that felt like really restorative and magical and something was I just lay in the dark in my basement. And I was really like, the words I heard in my brain talking to myself were like, be a seed. Like, you need to be a seed right now. Like, just be a seed. Don't try to be anything else. Just be like a little wildflower seed under the snow. That's all you got. That's all you can do. Just like listen. Just listen to the constant patter in my brain. Listen to the house, listen to the creaking of the house in the cold, listen to what's coming through, maybe from the roots around from the earth. But like, I hadn't done that in a really long time, but I was gifted with 24 hours alone and I spent like 18 of them lying in the dark.
That's an excellent prescription. Y'all, if you have time, just lie in the dark for a bit.
Just be a little seed. That's all I got.
Yeah. And it's funny too because when the snow melts and I start clearing away like the leaves, I don't remove all the leaves, I like to pile them up on
Mm,
places where stuff's growing and around tree trunks and stuff. So the snow has melted. Imagine, it certainly has not melted. I'm freezing. Um, but then when you clear away those sort of half-rotten leaves from last year, those shoots are shooting, they're popping, they're growing. We can't see them. They're under blankets, but they're still growing. And so I feel like that's like your seed mentality. It's like you can still bloom and grow under a blanket.
Yeah. And like the correlation for me is also like it's research time. It's like, and
Mm,
it's like playing with research time. It's not like I'm going to try to find out this one thing. This is like the curiosity part of research time. Amy and I, part of the Missing Witches podcast, do a season dedicated to these meditations on our kinship with other species in the more than human world that starts in May. Does it start in May, Amy?
March.
It starts in March. And so yeah, we're deep in the research now. The piece of research that's been like sort of especially correlative to being a seed right now is playing with ancestry.ca. You can do 2 weeks for free or like pay for a month and then cancel it after a month. But just see what's in there. Click on the little leaf with the hints and see what the hints are and then go digging in the records. I found a fourth great grandmother of mine in an industrial town in England that's described as being like at the time when she's there, like the 1850s, as just being like a soup of gray. Like it's the heart of industrial England. And on this document I found, she's listed as the head of a household. So she has like 6 kids living with her, but the husband's name is not on the census. Her profession is listed as butcher. Her son's profession is listed as butcher. And then living with her, she has like other kids and grandkids and daughter-in-law, and their professions are variously listed as scholars and painters. So just am imagining, I don't know, it's so interesting to imagine these people. Why did they come to Canada? What was that poverty that led them to be part of that land theft that was happening? What motivated her daughter to leave and what was she studying? And like, I don't know. It's so interesting just to sort of use those as points of research into where your people were part of, maybe labor movements. I know I found a grandfather that died in a workhouse. These are like poor people's, when after these laws came in the UK saying that people didn't have a right to food, it's like they were put in workhouses to work until they died. Those people are in us, and I don't really know what it means for what I'm researching right now, but that's part of being a seed for me right now is just, I don't know, sending out strange roots, trying to understand where I am.
Yeah, and there's have been so many times where I've been like researching something specifically and then offhandedly
Mm.
encountered something else that just tied in so completely and accidentally to what I was doing. You don't know where the threads are going to tie together necessarily. And I love that about like learning. I also want to say, like, your ancestor who was the head of the household and listed as such. I love thinking about, the speculative fiction of like life outside the patriarchal lens, or taking off those glasses of patriarchal lenses, and like what can happen when we acknowledge that, the mother is the head of the household and is teaching her trade to her children, whether it's butchery or scholarship or whatever it is. Like, no wonder you have that like powerful womanness about you, that's in your background.
I mean, I think it's in all of us. You go digging around enough and you find these clues. Like the other fun one I found is that my fourth great grandfather's brother was Samuel Bass, who is Brad Pitt's character in 12 Years a Slave. So basically,
What?
basically, I'm related to Brad Pitt. No, even better. Really, yeah, just like a historic figure of emancipation, of standing up for somebody whose rights had been violated and helping them gain their freedom. And the tradition in my family is that the woman whose name we know, who was his mother, was Haudenosaunee, and it checks out for where they were, where their house was listed. It's Haudenosaunee territory. It precedes the treaties, so they were definitely not on treated land. Um, and so then I'm like in the speculative fiction of that, imagining like this person who had the language to write these letters that helped get this man his freedom, who saw the necessity of it. Maybe he learned about that from having a mom who was Haudenosaunee, like maybe he learned about race because there was this like relationship and choice from her to teach him about that. I don't know. I like to imagine it.
Yeah. And my number one example that I always go back to is Frankenstein, the novel, the Mary
Hmm.
Shelley, and how her father, they lived at a time where you didn't educate your daughters, you educated your sons. But her father was like, F that, like, this is my child and they're going to have an education. And if he didn't make that choice, like, the world would have lost out on one of the greatest, like, horror, science fiction, whatever novels of all time that has, like, reverberated through all of our pop culture. So, abolitionists, and again, like Frederick Douglass, who was like a big feminist. Obviously, race was his major thing, but he was the same thing. Like, no one is free unless we're all free. And so he was like the only man, I think, at least the only man of color who like spoke at like a women's rally in the 1850s. Like, we have a choice to go against the grain. And when we do, like, look what can happen. Like, just when we make a choice to educate our children, when we make a choice to go against whatever the status quo is telling us that we know is not right, man, that's world changing shit.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So I brought two prescriptions. One is something that I promised I would talk about, and the other is completely alive from off center. Um, but the two prescriptions are like, which groundhog are you? Is it 6 more weeks of winter, or are you ready to spring into action? So if you're a spring into action groundhog, I brought the Bell Rays Revolution Get Down. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit because last week I was talking about Lisa Kakaula, who was the singer for the Now Time delegation, that Handle Me With Care song. But she was also in a rock and roll band. I think the Bell Rays are still active. Um, and it's just like kick-ass rock and roll. It's just kick-ass rock and roll. Every time I saw the Bell Rays, I wept because Lisa is this like high priestess, like a high priestess of rock and roll who, again, we're trying to like get out of, the language of religiosity, but I don't know what else to say other than that she is like delivering a sermon. She is delivering, doing deliverance work for us every time she's on stage. Um, like I say, like I wept every time I saw the Bell Rays. I wept because of the sheer power of this person, Lisa Kakaula, and this band is the Bell Rays. She also was like, when the MC5 reformed, she sang with the MC5. Like, she's just one of the coolest people in the whole world. And obviously, the name of this song is Revolution Get Down. So you know where she's going with this. But I want to just underscore this one line where she sings, "Don't you treat me like I was born for nothing." And like, listeners, Coven, like, you were born for something, and don't let nobody tell you were born for nothing. Don't let nobody treat you like you were born for nothing. Revolution, get down, get down, get down. If you're ready to spring into action, like, put this song on, do the revolution, get down, and just understand that you were born for something and don't let anybody treat you otherwise, right? Now, if you're not there, if it's 6 more weeks of winter, I get that too. And so I brought actually a TV show, which I don't think I've ever done before. And if you know me personally, maybe you've heard me talk about this before, but this is like my safe, quiet, beautiful landscape of television that I would love for y'all to get into. It's called the Great British Pottery Throwdown. And so it really is, it's like, like a reality competition show, like you imagine, but it's so sweet. There's none of this like, let's create drama by putting the potters in a room and have them fight. Like there's none of that. Super supportive. They're all helping each other. One of the judges is named Keith, and he's this big burly guy in his leather apron. And every time one of the potters does something he really loves, he cries. Like he gets choked up. And I'm telling you all, if you just need to be under a metaphorical blanket of media, because obviously it's fucking fucked out there. Everything is so fucking scary. I mean, the news is terrifying and uh, paralyzing. So if you need 6 more weeks of winter, check out the Great Pottery Throwdown and just like it really, and again, you know me, like I have an anxiety disorder and this show is like medication. It's so well intentioned, it's so sweet. They really are so supportive of each other. And then of course, again, there's Keith who's like weeping because someone made a really nice duck that's shaped like a teapot, shaped like a duck or whatever. And then I'm so excited about this and it's so ridiculous. They're doing a Canadian version. The CBC is doing a Canadian version that is starting on February 8th. And one of the hosts is Seth Rogen. Now, I'm not like, I'd never even really thought about Seth Rogen. Like, he's a human that exists and some of his shit's funny and some of his shit's annoying. I never really thought about it. I do want to say have fallen in love with him over the years because one, he completely distanced himself vocally and publicly from James Franco when it came out that James Franco was like trying to seduce teen girls and stuff. Seth Rogen was like, I don't care, fuck you, Hollywood. This is bullshit. I'm not fucking with this guy anymore. Publicly, which and oh, Seth Rogen. He basically just like quit Hollywood to like stay in Vancouver and smoke weed and make pottery. And that's how he got this job because he's like not
No.
a yes. Oh yes.
I've
And
seen him
so
selling his pottery or like showing pictures on social media or whatever, but
yeah,
I didn't know that was his life now. I'm so happy for him.
right. And like what a great like inspiration, like we're so greedy as a species and we're so strivey as a species. And this guy was like, you know what? This like $1 million Hollywood thing is not for me. I'm gonna go make pottery and smoke weed. And I'm sure so many of you who are listening are like me, and that's like the dream. I just want to like go and like make little pots and listen to my Joni Mitchell records and be very fucking Canadian. So again, that starts on February 8th. I haven't seen it yet. I only saw the trailer, but if it's anything like the British version, which again, please even just watch a clip if you need like something to lower your cortisol levels. It's such a safe and happy piece of media that I would love for you all to check out. And then, of course, on February 8th, we can all watch the Canadian version
I
together.
can't
So,
wait.
again, just to recap, you're a groundhog, you're seeing your shadow, or you're not. You're 6 more weeks of winter, or you're springing into action. So, if you're springing into action, fucking bell raise, revolution, get down, let's fucking go. If you need 6 more weeks of winter, the pottery throwdown, where people make little teapots shaped like ducks, and then the burly man cries. It's
This is what I need.
yeah,
And even if you're taking that time to, you know, be a seed for 6 more weeks, Just remember that, even when you're not really paying attention, your little tendrils are reaching out. You're going down Wikipedia spirals, inspiring your creativity. Maybe you're getting your hands dirty with a pot. Maybe you're like just learning about your own relationship to other species and other people and feeling your way into some more healthy kinds of relation. But all that stuff is revolutionary too. It's just the stuff that's happening quietly under the snow.
Yeah. And, you know, the message, don't you treat me like I was born for nothing. If you have
Bless it.
left Hollywood to make pots, or if you have joined the revolution, you were born for something. And a blessed
Bless it
fucking be
fucking
on
me to that all
that.
day.
Me and my life is all to me. I love myself and all me. I love myself and all of me, all of me. I love myself and all of me. Love myself and all of me. I love myself and all of me.
If you want to support the Missing Witches project, join the coven. Find out how at missingwitches.com.